Well, hello, YouTube, and welcome back to a really smorgasbord put together studio recording of the books that author Chris McIntyre, Lady Mac, read in August. I don't know where you are. I filmed like 3 different TikToks already, and I've fucked all of them up. I do not know how to make eye contact with all. I think it's there. I don't know where to make eye contact with you in my new setup. And you guys know I like eye contact. Anyway, okay. Here's the books that I read. Don't look at the background. Look at me. Look at me. Okay, we'll get to that. I'll put a sheet up over it or something. It's less chaotic and more space to record in this new office area that I'm setting up. But obviously it's more of my family basement and not my office that you can see in the background. So I'm going to have to figure that out. It's fine for now. So welcome back to a video that I'm putting out on time, just like the rest of them. I'm so proud of myself. Can you tell? All right. This book I talked quite a lot about on TikTok and then had to cut a bunch out because I have a time limit there. I don't have a time limit here. So get ready. Womb was drastically overhyped for me. The same way page 42 of Aaron Beauregard's Playground was extremely overhyped. Maybe I just have a really strong stomach for splatterpunk and grotesque horror, but I don't know. I got to page 42 of Playground and I was like, okay, somebody eat shit. Moving on. I don't know. Sorry. That's not a spoiler. That's like the hashtag of Aaron Beauregard's Playground. Like, oh, I survived page 42. Spoiler alert, somebody eats shit. And it has nothing really to do with the novel. Okay. This book is also very grotesque. It has some really weird stuff in it. It is about a dude who had a very horrific experience in a hotel. It goes back there to... Wow, is relive the word I'm looking for? Goes back there to relive the experience while also telling some really gross stories along the way. If there was any trigger warning at all, it would be... I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I want to say face fisting, but I don't think that's a thing. Face fucking? Literally? All right. Anyway. Midnight Mass. Moving on to some smut. I don't know how I feel about this. It's been a while since I read Priest. Priest was about like a woman who corrupts a man in the priesthood, but he was already a pretty corrupt man. This is it's not 2 because 2 is Sinner. This is like an in-between book, basically about how their life starts off together and him still in school. He's not actually an acting priest. It's interesting. It's really smutty. It was good. I gave it 4 stars. Oh yeah, I gave Womb 4 stars. It didn't get 5 stars for me. Only 2 books got 5 stars. One, only part of it got 5. We'll get to there. This was a decent read if you're looking for smut. It's the only smut book that I read this month. I have a lot that I'm working through in September. Some really weird books I'm working through in September, and they're really good so far. So stay tuned for September's reads are going to be really good. I don't know how I felt about Ugly Girls. It is wrote from the point of view of 2 younger teens who are definitely involved in some really older people activity, and it involves it doesn't get into PDF stuff, but it definitely hints that there's a man that they interact with that is involved in PDF stuff. And it's not a main core of this novel. If that is a huge trigger for you, it's more like it's implied that this man is. It does not go into any kind of detail in the storyline of it. It's wrote as it reads young adult, but it's not young adult. And I don't know if that's what threw me in it. That it's really from the point of view of these like 15 and 16-year-olds, and it's really juvenilely wrote, but also it's got a heavy subject matter. The ending fell flat for me. I don't even know where it came from. It was just on my shelf, so I read it. I didn't mind it. I think I gave it like 3.5 stars though. Long drawn out pause. I've been reading this book since February. This book read like a textbook to me, except it had just enough valuable information about the psychology of like how your confidence affects your body and stuff that I wanted to read it. But wow. That's the whole wow. I started reading this in February. I try to read 1 or 2 self-development books a month, and I generally read like 10 or 20 pages in between pleasure reading. I couldn't do that with this. Holy shit. I could not do that with this book. After a while, I just shelved it for like 2 months. I didn't even look at it, let alone read 10 pages. And then after a while, I picked it back up, but literally began to force myself to do the 10 to 20 pages a day. Force myself. And I didn't DNF it or didn't finish it because there really was some valuable information in here that I was enjoying learning, but like the same way you would enjoy reading the textbook that's required for the schooling that you want to do, but nobody wants to read the fucking textbook, okay? Sorry, Amy. I know you tried. There were definitely some paragraphs that were sprinkled with some humor and real life stuff, but maybe I'll read Good Manners for Nice People Who Sometimes Say fuck, because maybe that will be more of the tone. Like that's like unfuckology, and it's got this like sarcastic, everyone go fuck themselves look on the cover, but no, it's dry. It reads like a textbook. But it was okay as far as like, did I take something of value from it? Yes. I'll never read it again. It's only like the 3rd day of September, and I'm already almost done the first self-development book that I've worked on this month. It's like I'm eating through 50 pages at a time before I've realized I've read my last 10 to 20 pages. So, yeah, it's a good one. So that'll come up in September's books I've read, which will come in October. But I've stuck to a really good schedule of posting my videos on time, even when they're a hot mess. So I deserve a hero cookie. This was a 5-star read for me. The Whisper Man by Alex North, which is strange because I do not like detective novels and I do not like true crime novels. However, this was on my shelf for a really long time. I was like touching the cover. It's got like a weird matte versus glossy. And I'd heard really good things about it being more of a horror novel than it is true crime. So I gave it a shot. Loved it. It is an interesting read because it's wrote from like 5 different people's point of view. And not only that, but the tone of the point of view changes. Like one is a child, one is first person, one is third person. But it's not confusing because it's very clear which chapter is whose. And it was a good read. I loved it. It wasn't heavily emphasis on the detective and crime stuff. It had a lot to do with a awful serial killer from a long time ago and how it tied into killing that was happening now. It does mention children, which is the MO of the serial killer, but it's not really in graphic detail. One kind of is in the beginning a little, but like I would not say like this much of the book is about like the actual like of kids. So if that's a big heavy thing for you, it's not, I don't think it would be too much for you to read. Obviously, like if that's a really no for you, trigger warning, then don't read this. But like if you can handle it, and I'm just letting some people want to know what's in a book without spoilers, and they want to know. There's a whole website dedicated to Does the Dog Die, which is incredible. If you pick up a book or a movie and that's a thing for you, you would not believe how many people will sit through some of the most like horrific stuff with human beings and like other whatever, but dogs are a no-go. I will probably never write a book that involves like a dog dying for any reason because people lose their minds. Anyway, there's a website dedicated to that without spoilers. If you didn't know that, if you're curious about a book or a movie, go to Does the Dog Die? And it will tell you just yes or no. So you can forewarn yourself if that's a no for you. So yes, on that same thing of trigger warnings and stuff, like if children, is a no-go for you, don't read this book. But like as long as like if you're like, I'm okay as long as it's not splatterpunk horror, then this is definitely a good book. I loved it. 5 stars. Really enjoyed it. Lastly, I read Stephen King's You Like It Darker. I am a King girl right from my whole, like I have spent my life reading King. I own almost everything he's ever wrote, and I am a big fan. I'm also well aware of what his writing style is like, which sometimes can be 8 pages of him describing the weather and the way a gas station looks that really doesn't have anything to pertain to the story. So there are stories in this. There's only like 10 stories, I think, in this whole thing. There are a couple in here like that are like, oh, here we go. One of King's finest. I just keep reading because I'm already in it. I'm committed. You know, if it was one book of all of that, I would DNF it. That being said, there is a 5-star read in here. Chef's kiss, 5 stars. There's a couple. Rattlesnakes had me shook. I've already got to like the little goosebumpies. Okay, Cujo is one of his more famous books that has become a movie and it's sort of like a cult phenomenon of all of King's books. It's a doozy. The book that's in here called Rattlesnakes is not a sequel to Cujo, which is what I first thought because that's what I had seen when I picked this up. I was like, how did he do what's the follow-up to Cujo? There is a follow-up to Cujo in here. It is called Rattlesnakes. It is the 3rd last book. It is like almost 100 pages. And if nothing else, I highly suggest you read Rattlesnakes. That being said, this book is very heavily advertised as a very dark read. It even says it right on the back. You like it darker? So do I. No, he doesn't. This man is a liar. These are all typical King novels. He has wrote some really weird and dark stuff. Rage was pulled from the shelves for a reason. Like, he's never really had a filter on the weird and the dark. So I did not find these... Nothing in here was like, oh my god, that's offensive, or that's really dark, or really creepy, or really anything. They were all typical King short stories. But Rattlesnakes is so fucking well done. It is its own story that somehow just brings Cujo back to life, the characters back to life, without, I don't know. It's so good. It was just so good. I waited, like, the whole book. I was like, where's the Cujo story? And then when I got to it, I was just like, I'm done now. The last 2 stories, I didn't even really care for them. I didn't need to. Rattlesnakes. So read that, please. If you are a King fan, I highly suggest you read Rattlesnakes. I also highly suggest you probably just borrow that from the library. Because I own it and I don't think... No, I got it at a used bookstore. I hate to say things like that. As an indie author, I'm like, please go buy my books. But also, I understand that in this economy, maybe you don't want to go buy my books. I have lots of free stuff online, and you can also get my stuff from the library. You can get it from Kindle. You know, I'm still supporting. Anyway, that's all my books for August. I have another video up and coming really soon, because Another Woman Sins has officially launched and gone live, and I have amazing stuff to share with you guys about that and some upcoming events that I'm doing. And then I have some really fun erotica readings planned in the upcoming fall months. So, thank y'all for being here. Always appreciated. Much love. Keep reading. Stay kinky. All that. Lady Mac out.